Hello, my dear children. Namaste and welcome to a brand new chapter of your CBSE Class 10 syllabus, and that is the chapter Heredity and Evolution. This is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here at Vedantu. Hope all of you are doing absolutely great. Okay, so let's recall, let's remember the fact that this is one of those chapters which has got a little bit of modification according to the latest, in the sense, the modification that CBSE has come up with in your class 10 CBSE syllabus. And what is that? The initial few concepts of this chapter remain intact, which means the introduction, Mendelian genetics, everything remains intact. But then the topic about evolutionary theories has been taken off from your syllabus. So I would actually like to rename this chapter for the time being as just heredity or genetics. That's it. Okay, so anyway, let's move on. And before we jump into the concepts of the chapter, as always, here is a positive quote for you. Inhale confidence and exhale doubt. Yes, let's always remember that self-confidence is the most important tool for self-development and to attain and achieve anything at all in life. Okay, and with that in mind, let's move on. I have some very, very good news to share with you. And one of that is, yes, Vedantu students bag top ranks in IIT JEE, which has in fact been one of the best results. In fact, the best results among all online classes. Look at that. Well, I would honestly appreciate all the children who have attained excellent ranks, and of course their parents for all the wonderful support, and all our amazing Vedantu teachers who've been associated, regardless of whether it's been daytime or nighttime, they've been closely interacting with children in being there as a mentor and a guide all the time. So here are some of our toppers. Yes, you can see the names of these wonderful children, and you can see their ranks also, their all India ranks also: 582, 635, 663, 776 and 778. How amazing. Yes, JEE advanced results 2020, and here is a wonderful celebration time for us at Vedantu, and definitely we wanted to share this piece of news with all of you. Here are some more of our amazing super scorers. Yes, AIR 43, AIR 208, 227, 290, 482. Isn't that just wonderful? Hats off to all of them, all of these children and all of their parents and their teachers for supporting them. Because definitely we all know that JEE, one of the most competitive exams in the entire country. So yes, let's take inspiration from them, children. You are still young, you are still in class 10. So prepare mentally. I'm not saying go and attempt JEE, but whatever it is that you decide to do in life, children, please make sure that you have full faith in yourself. Please be sure that you know what you're doing. Okay? So with that, today, let us learn about the concept of heredity, concept of variation, the fact that variation leads to evolution, and I will also be telling you some of the important terms which are used in genetics. Well, I would personally say this last part, the terms used in genetics, actually forms a base of your understanding for the rest of this chapter. Okay? This, I always say this in all my sessions when I taught this for ICSE class 10 also, and in all my regular sessions also, I say genetics is my all-time favorite topic in the entire subject biology, because it's got so many amazing theories that apply a lot of logic also, and that actually means that you have minimal memorizing to do as far as this chapter is concerned. So how do you master this chapter? It's very, very simple. Today, whatever we are going to be learning, just have a basic and a very, very crystal clear understanding of all of those concepts. It's not going to take very long. Today's session is going to be actually very, very short. Okay? As long as you have these basics in mind, trust me, the next session and the session after that are going to be super duper easy for you. Okay, and let's recall from our previous chapter, reproduction, that both animals and plants reproduce by two major methods. What are they? Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, wherein only one parent is involved. Sexual reproduction, wherein two parents are involved. So asexual reproduction, if you remember, the parent and offspring are exactly carbon copies of each other, whereas in sexual reproduction, there is a lot more happening than just making babies or offspring which are exactly carbon copies of parents, because two parents are involved. So there is mixing of a lot of genetic material that's happening, all of which we will be learning in today's session. So yes, let's remember that every cell in our body, take for instance the example of human beings. We know that our body is made up of roughly around 38 to 40 trillion cells. In each of these cells, there is DNA, regardless of whether we are talking about somatic cells or whether we are talking about gametic cells. By which I mean, what are gametes? Everyone knows. Sperms and ova are your gametes. Right, in males, sperm are the gametes, in females, ova are the gametes. Every cell in the human body or every cell in any sexually reproducing organism except the gametes, all the cells except the gametes are what we call body cells or somatic cells. Okay. In all of these cells, in all of these 40 trillion cells or 38 trillion cells, whatever the number is, there is DNA which is present inside the nucleus. What is so special about this DNA? DNA, as you have learnt in your class 9 in the chapter Fundamental Unit of Life, DNA has information stored in the form of gene. And to tell you a little bit of extra and a slightly more complex piece of information, this information is read in the form of what we call codons. Okay, so what you see here, A, T, G, A, C, G, G, A, T, C, A, G, all of that, what you see there are pieces of information, sequences which are actually the information stored in your DNA. But what are those alphabets? There are majorly 4 alphabets, as you can see, A, T, G and C. Okay, so in case you want to know more about how this works, I would personally suggest you can go back and watch the video I have made for class 10 ICSE. Okay, the topic about structure of DNA. I think it comes in as part of the first unit in class 10 ICSE, which is basic biology. Cell cycle, cell division and structure of chromosomes is one major portion that class 10 ICSE students have. So I have explained this well in detail. So this will give you a better understanding about what exactly these alphabets are, A, T, G and C. But just remember children, simply put, these are what makes up the DNA. Okay. And there is a specific meaning also. This term that we say codon is actually a group of 3 of these alphabets. Okay, you will learn more about this if you are a NEET aspirant also as you go to class 12 in the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance. So each of these codons, I told you, a combination of 3 alphabets, right? Each of these codons is said to be a code, like those secret codes. If at all you are fond of detective stories and puzzles and riddles and things like that, decoding and things like that, it's actually a secret code which is found in our DNA. What does it stand for? Each of these codons codes for amino acids. And what are amino acids? Amino acids later unite to form proteins, and what you see in this animation here is actually the process of protein synthesis which occurs in your ribosomes. It is your ribosome which you see here. This blue structure here is the ribosome which you see here. And what is the ribosome? Just recall, it's an organelle which is found inside your cell. Okay, and this is where protein synthesis happens. Assembly of all of these amino acids occurs in the ribosomes to form chains of amino acids which eventually develop to form proteins. Okay, so yes, DNA or gene, and then we talk about amino acids which later combine to form proteins. So just to give you an idea about the relation between amino acids, peptides and proteins, yes, amino acids are these individual bead-like structures we see here. They combine together to form chains which we call peptides. Peptides coil up and form further more complex structures which we call proteins. Okay, so both, let's recall this fact, both body cells or somatic cells and gametes have DNA, which is information stored in the form of genes and are read as codons. Now don't worry too much, children, if at all this seems too much for you. I just wanted to give you a little bit of extra information, especially for those of you who are targeting all those Olympiads and NTSC and such competitive exams. Okay, if not, there's nothing to worry. Okay, take it easy. Now, let's also recall what we started the chapter with, the fact that all progeny of asexual reproduction have the same genetic makeup, and that is why they are all carbon copies of each other. Look at that. Parent has an angry face, children all have an angry face, and even in the next generation, the grandchildren all have the same angry face, all like carbon copies of each other, right? So this is because all of them have the same genetic makeup, only one parent is involved. There is no scope for any new variation to arise as far as asexual reproduction is concerned. Whereas in sexual reproduction, we've learned this in the chapter How Do Organisms Reproduce also, that the progeny of animals which reproduce sexually have variations. This is exactly why you, I, and any other human being you can see around, even if it's within your family or around, all of us, although we are all human beings, we all look different from each other. There is a lot of similarity, yet there is a lot of difference. When you look at me, you can identify me as Ambika Ma'am. When you see somebody else, say for instance, when you see Anubha Ma'am, you can identify her as Anubha Ma'am, and so on. This is because although we are all human beings, there is a lot of difference also in us, and that those differences which exist among different individuals in sexually reproducing organisms is what we call variations. Okay, so yes, how is this variation coming into picture? Now I understand that this also might be a little complex for you to understand, but just remember, children, that when gametes are formed in sexually reproducing organisms, gametes are formed as a result of a very, very important type of cell division which we call meiosis. Okay, meiosis is actually one process which used to be part of the CBSE 9th curriculum a very long time back. When I was in class 9, I remember mitosis and meiosis used to be taught in class 9, but I think somewhere it got removed. But at least it's worth understanding so that you understand genetics a little better. This is my personal opinion. So again, children, in case you want to know more about mitosis and meiosis, watch my class 10 ICSE videos. Okay, I've already done those in the same channel. Okay, so meiosis, which is the process by which from diploid parent cells in the body, haploid gametes are formed. Okay, all somatic cells in sexually reproducing organisms have 46 chromosomes in human beings. Okay, especially take my skin cell and count the number of chromosomes in it, you would find there are 46 chromosomes. Take my brain cell, probably even in that you would find there are 46 chromosomes. Whereas in the gametes of any human being, you would find that the number of chromosomes is half of this number, which is 23. So this number is what we call the diploid number. Okay, and this number is what we call half of that. We call it the haploid number. Why are gametes haploid and why are other cells diploid is again something that's very, very interesting. In fact, let's recall that it's a sperm and an ovum which come together to form the zygote. We've learned this in the previous chapter. So a sperm carrying 23 chromosomes and an ovum carrying 23 chromosomes, when they fuse together at the time of fertilization, they form a zygote cell which has 46 chromosomes. And this process, it is because this haploid number is maintained in gametes that the overall or the typical chromosome number of a particular species is able to be maintained. And this simple rule applies to every single sexually reproducing organism. But this 46 number is a unique number to human beings. There are other sexually reproducing organisms in which there are probably like 76 chromosomes in every diploid cell. That means in their gametes, there would be 76 by 2. whatever the half of 76 is, they would have that many number of chromosomes in the gametes. If there are 64 chromosomes in a diploid cell, there would be half of that, 32 in the gametes, and so on. And this is important so that this typical chromosome number in that particular species is maintained. Imagine if the sperm and ova had 46 chromosomes each, what would have been the case? With every single generation, the number of chromosomes would have doubled up. So 46, it would have doubled up to 92. And then in the next generation, it would be 92 plus 92. It would have been even double of that. That means with every generation, the species is becoming different. What makes you, me, and anyone else human is the fact that each of us has 46 chromosomes in each of our diploid cells and 23 chromosomes in our gametes. Okay, do remember this very, very simple rule. Now, what you see in this picture here is a very, very important stage in the process of meiosis, and we call that synapsis, wherein pairing of homologous chromosomes occurs. Now, even when we say we have 46 chromosomes in every diploid cell, they are actually arranged in the form of 23 pairs of chromosomes. So instead of saying 46 chromosomes, the more appropriate way of saying it is there are 23 pairs of chromosomes. There is pair 1, pair 2, pair 3, pair 4, and so on till pair 23. In each pair, say for instance, in pair 1 chromosomes that we have, we call that a homologous pair of chromosomes, because one member of my first pair comes from my father and the second member of my first pair comes from my mother. Likewise, in my second pair of chromosomes, one member comes from my father, another member comes from my mother, and so on. And this is true with every single sexually reproducing organism. So that is why you see here paternal chromosome, paternal member, and maternal member, one member each of either of our parents come together, they pair up through a process called synapsis. Okay, to know the difference between paternal and maternal, the color coding has been given, not that it's actually in this color, and then they come together during meiosis. And as you can see in this particular stage 2 here, I call the stage 1. In stage 2 here, as you can see, they are exchanging certain segments of their chromosomes, right? This exchange in segments of chromosomes is a process which we call crossing over. And the result of crossing over is like this. What was initially this way, wherein completely orange or completely maroon, in step 3 here, you can see that they've become a new variety, a new combination. And this is what leads to variations. Maternal and paternal chromosomes exchange segments of DNA and give rise to new variant or new variations, new variant chromosomes. This is how variations arise, and this is exactly what explains why you do have certain similarities with your mother and father, yet you also have certain unique features. You are unique because of the process of crossing over. Each of us this way is unique because of this process called crossing over. Very, very important basic to understand, children. Okay, now, yes, variation and adaptation actually increases the chances of survival. As you can see here, in certain populations, like for example, in an insect population, you might find certain insects which are brown in color, some of them which are green in color. So we call them variations. This is an example of variations. Likewise, human beings also, right? There may be human beings who are very tall, who are very short, who may be medium in height. There may be different skin colors also among human beings that we see. All of them are examples of variation. Now, if you consider this particular example that we are talking about, imagine that they are living in an environment wherein the background is brown in color. So what happens? The brown colored insects are having a survival advantage there because they are not very easily seen by their predators, whereas the green colored individuals are seen contrasting against their background, and because of this their predators are able to catch these prey more easily, whereas the brown colored members are blending more easily into their background, and that means this variation has provided them with a survival advantage. Eventually, the population comes to a point where only brown colored individuals survive. And gradually over many years, you would even find a mix of both of them. Like you can see the genetic material in both of them. Yes, this is what forms the basis of what we call evolution. Over a period of time, nature provides a survival advantage to some of them, some variations, whereas some variations are proven to be non-useful or useless to that organism, and that may end up vanishing from the planet. Okay, so coming to a slide where we are summarizing all the major advantages of variation. Why is variation important? Of course, it serves as a raw material for evolution and selection. Why do we have so much of biodiversity on this planet today? It's because evolution has been happening all the time. What our planet is today may not be what it is going to be looking like in another 1,000 years or in another 500 years. We don't know. And it's completely different from what it was 1,000 years ago also. And that's because of evolution. And variations can help in adaptation to environmental changes. There is a very interesting story of how giraffes developed their long necks also. It's said that initially giraffes were short-necked animals, and because of certain conditions, short-necked animals couldn't survive, like shortage of food and all of that. And that's a very interesting story. Again, something which I have explained in other videos. So go back and watch it if at all you're interested. Otherwise, please do. I think your textbook also might be explaining this in detail. Otherwise, I would suggest read it up in some reliable online source. It's actually a very, very interesting story. Then, variation also provides individuality to organism, as I said, and also it helps in the formation of new characters. Actually, points 3 and 4 are very, very closely related to each other. It's because of the formation of new characters that it provides individuality to organisms. Okay, now let's also remember that human DNA could undergo damage, like possibly it could undergo damage, which can cause what we call mutations. So any sudden change which occurs in the genetic material is what we call mutation. So there are two major types of mutation, those which are non-heritable and those which are heritable. Those which are non-heritable are what we call somatic mutations, which occur in non-germline tissues, which means they occur in the non-reproductive tissues in the body, like randomly because of too much exposure to harmful radiations of the sun, or too much exposure to harmful other radiations, like too much of X-rays, too much of any other chemical radiations, and so on, can lead to some kind of damage or defect in DNA. Okay, and then germline mutations are those which are found in eggs and sperms, which means it can get inherited by the next generation also. Okay, so do remember this also, two types of mutation. So let's take a very, very quick break and let's see how many questions we can answer. Oh, but before that, let me tell you something very, very useful, which is about the problems which most of our children say that they face today in the field of online education. So many unanswered doubts that you have, improper notes, like you don't know how to make notes, or you keep complaining that there's nobody to check your notes, tests and assignments, competitive exam preparation, choice of schedule, choice of language, so many problems. But there's nothing to worry at all, children. Just take it easy, because at Vedantu we've got all these problems solved for you, in addition to giving you a lot of bonuses. And what are they? We present to you a lot of unlimited live classes, plenty of micro courses and crash courses. We give you performance reports, personalized attention, and what not, all through our very, very special courses. To know more about these, just visit the link which was given in the description box below, children. And to avail the best benefits that we have, the best discounts that we have, apply the coupon code AMBPRO. Okay, so I'll just quickly run you through how you can pick up the course that would suit you. Choose your grade. First of all, click on the link given in the description box below. Choose your grade. So I think it's going to be class 10 for most of you. And then select the target, which would be CBSE 2021 or anything as relevant. Then check out all the details. What is included in Vedantu Pro, all the features have been listed out here. Some of them I've already told you. Okay, and then click on the button that says Get Subscription. Then here we give you all the details transparently for a 1 month, 3 months and a 6 months plan. So 1 month plan would normally, like currently, would cost you 2,699, which means for that entire 1 month you can be tension free. All your subjects, all your major subjects will be taken care of. For that 1 full month you get unlimited access to all our courses. Okay, and then that's normally priced at 2,699, but then apply the coupon code AMBPRO, the one which I told you about, and it would reduce your amount payable to 2,159.2. So this is for 1 month. For 3 months it would normally cost you 6,999, but application of the same coupon code AMBPRO would reduce it to 5,599.2. Okay, 3 full months. Remember, take some time to sink into these figures that I'm saying, children, so that it's making better sense to you. And then comes 6 months, wherein normally it's priced at 11,499. Currently, that's the normal price without any discounts. But for you guys, we are giving you the coupon code AMBPRO to reduce your amount payable to 9,199.2. So this means for the rest of your academic year, because we are still in the month of October, November, December, Jan, Feb and March, for all of these months, you can be tension free. Just pay 9,199 and all your subjects will be taken care of. All your major subjects, your physics, chemistry, maths, bio, English, SST, everything will be taken care of through the Vedantu Pro Lite courses. Okay, so just have a look at the details, children. I personally think this is one of the most reasonably priced courses available in the entire country. So do not miss out on this wonderful opportunity, children. I would suggest discuss it with your parents and choose whatever suits you best. But do not just leave it here ignored, because I'm telling you something that will benefit you from the point of view of a parent and from the viewpoint of a teacher also. So your coupon code, do remember, it is AMBPRO. Okay, so coming back to our quiz time. Which of the following is true about variation? And these are your 4 options. Provides raw material for evolution and selection, helps in adaptation to environmental change, provides individuality to organism, or all of the above. Okay, I do not want to give you too much time for this. And your time ends in 3, 2, 1 and go. The answer is all of the above, true about variation. Definitely. Next one, number of successful variations can be maximized by dash. Asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction, binary fission, budding. And your time ends in 3, 2, 1, go. The answer is sexual reproduction. Most certainly, binary fission and budding are types of asexual reproduction. Now, long-term consequences of the accumulation of variations is dash. Inheritance, sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction, evolution. Long-term consequences of accumulation of variations. What do you think? Variations accumulate over many, many years. It would lead to which of these? Yes, and the answer is evolution, of course. And the next one, having common body design even after several generations is an example of dash. Variation, evolution, inheritance, none of these. Super easy. You just need to understand literally what the question says. That's it. And your time is up. The answer is inheritance. And comes the next one. Organisms with suitable variation as per the environment have better chance of dash. Okay, organisms with suitable variation as per the environment have better chances of survival, variation, dying, hiding. Okay, and your time is up. The answer is survival. Remember that the insect example that I told you about. Very, very well done. If you have got all of these questions correctly, and the rest of you, just stay with me. We are going to be understanding more about this chapter. Even those of you who got it right, please stay with me. Okay, we are going to be discussing the core aspects of whatever will help you understand more about this chapter in the upcoming sessions, which are the most important terms used in genetics. Yes, first of all, the term gene. What exactly is gene? Gene is basically, we call it the basic unit of inheritance. They are nothing but segments of DNA. Segments of DNA is what we call genes. And these terms that you see, exon, intron, and all of them are actually segments of genes, sub-segments of genes, some of which can express themselves, some of which are just there, okay, between adjacent exons. So don't worry too much about that. It's just there to give you extra bits of information. You will learn more about this if you are a NEET aspirant. But just understand, a gene is nothing but a segment of DNA. And where do you find this? You would find genes in chromosomes. Genes are carried by chromosomes. So we can call chromosomes to be vehicles of genes or vehicles of heredity. Okay. So genes were previously known as factors. The term factor used to be the term that was used in place of gene. Like before the term gene came into existence, they were called factors. This was pretty much in the 1800s, mid 1800s. Now comes another very closely related term, which is allele. Alleles are actually alternative forms of genes. So when I say gene for eye color, I would say gene for eye color. But we know that eye color can either be, among human beings, eye color can be brown, eye color can be black, eye color can be, hazel or light brown, it can be green, blue, whatever, so many different variations we know about. So when we are talking about one specific variation of a character, which is actually called trait, in simple English, trait, I will write that term also for you. When I'm talking about one particular trait, I would use the term allele. Okay, don't be confused. I told you homologous pairs of chromosomes, right? So in the members of a homologous pair of chromosomes, there would be alleles of a particular gene. Okay, which means in this, as you can see, there is an allele for brown eyes, and in this one you can see there is an allele for blue eyes. You will understand more about this in the next session. So not to worry too much, just remember alleles are alternative forms of genes. And this is exactly why I want you to think about this. There may be parents who have one parent, for example, the father may have brown eyes, mother may have blue eyes, the child may have brown eyes. Why is this so? It actually means that the child actually has one allele for brown eye color, which he inherited from his father. The child also has one allele for blue eye color, as you see in this example, which he inherited from his mother. Would this mean that the child would have one brown eye and one blue eye? No. Out of this brown and blue, only one can be expressed. That is also another concept that we have to understand. Hold on for a few more minutes. I will tell you more about that particular concept. So now comes the term offspring. I think I've already been using the term offspring. Organisms produced as a result of sexual reproduction, the children, are what we call offsprings. Okay, offspring actually can be used in singular and plural form. So offspring, do remember that term. Phenotype, yes. Fancy word, maybe a new term for you. Phenotype is the external appearance of an organism regardless of its genetic makeup. Coming back to the eye color example that I told you also. I said the child may have brown eyes, although genetically he may have a blue eye allele and a brown eye allele. So regardless of the genetic makeup, he is expressing only the brown eyes. We call that as a phenotype. Likewise, in this example, we may see plants which are tall, we may see plants which are dwarf also. So tallness and dwarfness are phenotypes, or the physical expression of genes, or the external appearance as we see it. Genotype is actually the genetic makeup of an organism. Say for instance, we are talking about the tall plant and the dwarf plant. The tall plant's genotype may either be a capital T or a capital T and a small t. Whereas the dwarf pea plant's genotype is represented as a small t. Okay, not like the alphabets are present in English letters inside the organism's body. We just use it to represent it for the sake of ease to study it. Okay, so do remember these are just examples. Likewise, we can also mention or express the genotypes of human beings also, of the different characters, using alphabets. That's the easiest way to express it. We're talking about genotypes can either have a combination of similar alphabets, or it can have a combination of an uppercase and a lowercase letter. For instance, as you see in this case, if it's a combination of a capital B and a capital B, or a combination of a small b and a small b, we call it homozygous. Both the members of an allelic pair are similar in a diploid organism. If that's the case, we call it homozygous condition. So why is it always represented in 2? Because these are members of a homologous pair of chromosomes. Okay, so if you inherit the capital B allele from your father and the capital B allele from your mother for eye color or whatever character it's representing, we call it a homozygous condition. Likewise, even here, a small b from father, small b from mother is also an example of a homozygous condition, because homo means uniform or similar. Okay, now if it happens to be a combination of one capital B and one small b, different kinds of alleles for the same character, we call it a heterozygous condition. Hetero is different. Okay? Yes. Homo is similar and hetero is different. This is exactly what explains why the child, in the eye color example, if the father has brown eyes, like in this case, the mother has blue eyes, they are contributing one copy of each of their genes to the offspring at the time of sexual reproduction. The child has a combination of alleles this way, a capital B and a small b. Okay, this means that the child has a heterozygous condition. Both the members of the allelic pair are dissimilar. So if this is the case, what would be expressed is the next question. This is where we talk about dominant traits and recessive traits. Dominant traits are those which can be expressed even in a heterozygous condition, whether it's a capital B, or whether it's a capital B, small b, a homozygous or a heterozygous condition, dominant traits would be expressed. Like for instance, as you can see here, this is what you see, the gametes which are contributing to them, from the father and from the mother. Okay, this is what you see, the combinations of each of these gametes in offsprings. Okay, so capital B together forming homozygous dominant condition. Here you see a heterozygous condition, here you see another heterozygous condition, and here you see a homozygous recessive condition. So what is it revealing to you? What is it telling you? When there is at least one capital B present, okay, it would definitely be expressed. Even in a heterozygous condition, even in this condition, the small b allele is unable to express itself, and because of this, such a person would still phenotypically or physically have brown eye color. Okay, this is what is a dominant trait. So, dominant traits are basically those traits which appear in a progeny resulting from a cross between parents having contrasting traits. Like this is exactly the example that we have been discussing until now. One parent has brown eyes, the other parent has blue eyes. Children would have these different possible combinations. Okay, so how come the children have brown eyes? How come some of them have blue eyes? This is exactly what explains it. In case you're still confused, not to worry, Mendelian genetics will reveal more about what exactly these are. But just remember, children, dominant traits or dominant alleles are those which have the ability to express themselves even when there is only one allele copy present. Okay, whether it's a homozygous condition or whether it's a heterozygous condition, the capital B, the uppercase letter, is what is expressed. That is what we mean by the dominant trait or the phenomenon of dominance. And recessive trait is a trait which is masked by the effect of a dominant allele. And this is exactly why in this condition, the small b, although it stood for blue eye color, it couldn't be expressed. Phenotypically, a capital B small b is expressed as brown eyes. This doesn't mean that genetically there is no blue eye color allele. Although genetically the makeup is a combination of brown eyes and blue eyes, the alleles are heterozygous, as you can see. The blue allele, the blue eye allele, couldn't be expressed because this one is masking the effect of the recessive allele. The recessive trait can be expressed only in a homozygous condition. The small b is the only condition where the blue eye color can be expressed. Likewise, for any other trait. This is just an example. The eye color is just an example to help you imagine how exactly this works. Okay, so remember, dominant traits can be expressed in homozygous and heterozygous conditions. Recessive traits can be expressed only in the homozygous condition. Very, very basic rule that we must understand before we proceed further. Okay, we've discussed enough and more. So let's take a break and try answering a couple of questions. The condition in which both the members of an allelic pair are similar is called dash. The allelic members of an allelic pair are similar is called homozygous, heterozygous, dominant or recessive. Super easy. And your time is up. The answer is homozygous, capital B, or small b, or capital T, or a small t. These are all examples of homozygous conditions. Next one, traits which are exhibited only in a homozygous condition. What are they? Dominant traits, recessive traits, codominant character, expressive character. Traits which are exhibited only in a homozygous condition. Yes. Some of them I told you can be expressed in a heterozygous condition also. And your time is up. The answer is recessive traits. Yes, the blue eye color could be expressed only in this condition. If it was this condition, although this one single allele was present, it would be expressing it as brown eyes. As simple as that. Okay, and comes the next question. Alleles are found on sister chromatids, homologous chromosomes, different chromosomes, or none of these. Alleles are found on dash. And your time is up. Homologous chromosomes is your answer. Very, very well done, children, because I would strongly suggest you must strengthen your understanding in these basic terms, in these basic concepts, because in the next session, I will be using these terms very, very often. And without understanding these basics, you can't come back to me and tell me, like after the entire Ramayana is explained, you can't come back and ask me, ma'am, who was Rama and Sita? Okay, I will give you like one slap in case you go ask me a question like that. To avoid all that, make sure you understand these basics correctly. I know my dear children will do that. So in case you have any doubts, children, please do put it in the comment section below, because as you know, in every last session of at the end of every chapter, we have a doubts plus mentee session where we take up all your doubts, all the commonly asked doubts from the comment section, and we will be addressing them. Okay, so let me remind you that you now know about the concept of heredity, you know about the concept of variation, the fact that variation leads to evolution, and the major terms used in genetics. And here is your homework question for today. What variation in sickle cell anemia patients makes them resistant to malaria? So do a little bit of research. Let's see how smart you are, and let's see who's giving me the answer first. What is sickle cell anemia? What is the relation between sickle cell anemia and malaria, if at all there is? Do your background work and tell me the answer to that. And do remember to visit the link given in the description box below, children. And remember to use the coupon code AMBPRO. And children, if you have found this session useful and have enjoyed it, please remember to hit the like button right now, because that's the best way of letting us know that you have found this useful. And please do share it with all your class 10 CBSE friends, because this will certainly benefit them as well to strengthen basics. And yes, of course, to ensure that you don't miss out on any of our regular updates, please do subscribe to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th English right now, in case you haven't done it, because we will be coming with more and more creative videos and live sessions to make your learning process a lot simpler and a lot more interesting. Okay, so until we meet again, this is Ambika signing off. Until then, remember to take care, stay happy and stay healthy. Bye-bye.